Was from
Zimbo. Good evening, all. Welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 200, and tonight I have two of my co-hosts with me for Julius, and then we got Guru Tom, and we're so fortunate tonight. We're actually the ones that are going to be asked questions. Elrik came up, I thought was a great idea to basically focus one episode on an FMA discussion and then a subsequent episode more on me. And just because it would have been perhaps too much to squeeze in all in one episode. So I thought that was pretty clever. So tonight, if you're tuning in, this is going to be solely on FMA discussion, episode 101 to 200. Some of the things that we did differently, some of the things that we incorporated, obviously some new people. Starting, Julius was the first to come aboard. And then Brian Rodriguez, and then Tom Pena. We had Martin for a while, and that's all stuff. But again, if you have questions, please list them on the right. Also, please smash that like button and tell us where you're watching from. I want to give a big thanks to Elrik for doing this. He had to kind of change his schedule around and everything. So yeah, we really appreciate
Cheers, man.
Time to do this.
Cheers, man.
So without further ado, Elrik, I'm going to let you take it away.
So I've been a fan of the channel, I don't know, I think since the 30s. I keep in touch with folks in different parts of the world, people in backyard groups, some who are part of larger organizations. And I've been involved in the PhilAm community for a long time. And I only mentioned that part of my background because I really look at what's promoting FMA as a whole. And then the specific histories of different lineages, I feel is something very important to document. And so and here's the important thing, it showed up not through like me, it was just like just background noise. Oh, no, another person's doing videos. But I started to hear about FMA discussion and again from other instructors. So at least in my circles, FMA discussion is watched by instructors and known by instructors. I mean, who else is going to watch an hour-plus video of an individual talking about their background?
Yeah.
So for that purpose, it was very interesting for me. And thank you for asking me to interview you guys. But I do think it's special. And so let's start off with Dean. And I got a list of questions zoomed, so I don't have to wear my glasses. I'll get in order.
Yeah,
why FMA discussion?
Oof. So basically what happened was I was very fortunate to be interviewed by Dwight Woods regarding JKD, but I'm not really a JKD person anymore. But the reason why he interviewed me, Burton Richardson, my teacher, said, hey, look, you should interview Dean. What he's doing with the kids, he's putting a JKD aspect to teaching kids FMA. And so Dwight reached out to me, and and this is going back exactly 2 years ago. So I was really like, my social media presence at that time was nowhere's where it is now. And so when he interviewed me, while it was a humbling and honorable experience, what really resonated though is that I thought, man, this would be so much fun to do. This would, and then I looked at the FMA community and clearly saw a void, not being a voice. I mean, clearly. I mean, so I have respect for Dwight. I asked for his blessing. Hey, look, by the time we would start talking and we're starting becoming friendly and all that. And I said, look, I want to ask you first because I have respect for you. You're the pioneer who's done this live on Facebook. I go, would you be okay with if I do what you're doing, but within the FMA community solely? No JKD, just FMA related. He said that was fine, sure, and because I'm telling you, if he had said no, I have respect for him. Like if he was planning to do it or something like that, and matter of fact, he already did one episode or something like that, but he said sure. And so what I did was, because never doing this before, I got basically two of my teachers, like in the first 3 episodes, just to get some familiarity, just to get some comfortability doing this and all that. And so my first episode was Tom Sodas. Second episode was Bong Abnir. My third episode. Then after that, I started interviewing people, but and from there, kind of slowly, I got better what I'm doing, more comfortable, and just enjoyed giving a platform to folks to speak. And I'm going to get on the goals, when you ask that, but and all that. But that's kind of far as the point of origin, how it started. And but the reason for FMA discussion was overall to give our community a voice and all that. And I'll go in specific context in your next question, as far as who I really wanted to gear that voice towards.
Well, yeah, talk about who was the channel for originally.
When I created it, because again, this being new, like I had some ideas, but if you were to tell me, like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, it was, it was kind of trial and error. So, but I wanted, in other words, I felt so honored and humbled that Dwight interviewed me. I wanted to give other folks, such as me, who are really big names, to be heard. But yet they were doing really good things, but maybe just didn't have a big name. Maybe didn't have a big social media presence, a big following, whatever. You know what I mean? And women. So those were the kind of the two big things. One, bringing exposure to FMA. Two, get lesser known names an opportunity to have a platform that maybe never been offered before. Three, overall, give our female counterparts where they can be heard and get them more involved. And those are basically the three. As far as the channel is concerned, the group is a whole nother dynamic that came from the channel.
And by the group, you're talking about the Facebook group.
Correct.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So it's kind of like you actually sounds like you have really, really clear goals there. Anything about like hopes or dreams, or was that even in the radar screen for you?
My first hope was that people would actually listen to me.
Are you happy with where it's at?
I am. There's things that I thought over this time where we're at now, I thought would be like far as YouTube subscribers, but I'm kind of understanding more why it's at the way where it's at. But overall, I'm definitely happy. The feedback has been absolutely wonderful from people. People have been really supportive. The people I've met, like I would have never met you, Elrik, if it wasn't for the FMA discussion. Mm-hmm. So some of the people I've met, like Julius and Tom. So the people I've met through this, that alone trumps, whether I got 3,000 subscribers. You know what I mean? Just the experiences on the people, listening to people, having people share their stuff and all that. That's been so rewarding. Everybody knows none of us are getting any money for doing this. You know what I mean? We're doing this out of our passion for the art and all that. None of us are making any money. Matter of fact, the money that we are making, that we just start, which should be coming in shortly, is we're giving it to charity. We've made that very clear. Any money that this channel makes is going to charity, and all that. So we're very driven by the arts and the passion. And these two here, if they wouldn't mind.
I have a question for them. First off, so for Tom and Julius, when did it first get on your radar screen? What number around? And then what were your first impressions of FMA discussion?
Want to start, Julius?
You first, sir.
Okay. I think this was early last year. I've got a friend who's in the States now, who saw, I think, Dean interviewing some Abinir guys. I think this was the 3 episodes. Yeah. So he watched one of the, I think this was like 3 episodes. You were interviewing them.
Okay.
So my friend basically told me about this, and he said, "Have you watched it?" I said, "Okay, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it a few days later," and then After that, we came into talking. It's like, that's a good idea. Actually, it's a good platform for FMA, for at least every single style, every style to be known. So as well, and they would have a chance to be interviewed as well. So I sent a message to Dean, basically recommending him to interview John Scudero.
That's right.
So yeah, and then he came back. Yes, why not? And then I might as well interview you. So that's basically how it started for me. I think it was episode 46, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
Definitely pre-100. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it was sometime July last year, and then the first episode was I was interviewed regarding lightning. My journey with lightning. I think I was interviewed after Bot Hokano as well. Okay, and then Dean interviewed me again, but this time focusing on the no live blade or the Saka, which is more of the knife stuff. Yeah, and then from then I started basically following the group, following the discussions, watching the episodes. Until I got another interview together with Lori. With Bill first, with Bill McGrath. Yeah, with Tuhon Bill regarding knife defense and everything, and then another one with Lori and Grandmaster Anton. So that is the pre-violence stuff. Then from there, eventually Dean basically asked me to become a moderator, which I said, which I basically took. And eventually he spoke to me if I wanted to start interviewing, especially the European guys, because he's having a hard time fitting everything in now. And together with that's the stark contrast of time difference. So, which I basically took. So it wasn't really a planned thing for me as well, because I'm pretty much very, very conscious in front of the cameras, as I told Dean before. But at least now I'm starting to get comfortable with it as well. So yeah, that was my journey.
We got some people here saying hello. We got Royce. That's somebody that we need to get on. Royce. We got Miguel, who we had on. We got Jeremy, James, Irwin, Morgan, Brian. That's a guy that also needs to be mentioned, man. Brian, Chad Belly, and all that. All right. And then Julius.
I first took notice of the channel in the high aughts, up to around the mid 20s, mid 20 episodes. Oddly enough, I was just perusing through YouTube, and I just typed FMA, and one of the first things that popped up, and what shocked me was I was like, wow, there's a Joe Rogan podcast / Oprah of FMA. I was like, oh, it's almost like a revival of FMA Live, but the only difference is there's video on it. And I started commenting on the comment section in YouTube, completely oblivious that there was a Facebook group. Because there was like a troll guy in the comment section, and I'm like, who's this troll dude that kind of knows all the drama of like FMA? I was just trying to look out for Dean, because I was just like, man, that's not
Special
good.
mention.
Some of the grandmasters see this, like they might get pissed off of the stuff that person was saying. But so I've been involved in it pretty much since then. But I wasn't brought in the fold until basically episode 100, when I wasn't brought into public fold until episode 100 when I interviewed Dean. Which was actually it was actually our plan, because like I said, like, Dean, every time that there's like 100th episode, we should interview you to just give updates on like what's going on.
Julius, do you remember how you got involved with the interviewing? Do you remember?
That's all I remember. I volunteered to interview you.
No, here's what happened. No. It was no. What happened was you messaged me, hey, I just want to let you know I want to interview you as a guy, and I want to step on your toes. I'm like, you're not stepping on my toes. Everybody's open, just And I said, why don't you use my platform if you want? So you use my platform, and after that, I said, hey, if you want, you can help me out. So I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, it's Peter Codizal, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I told you,
because
yeah.
He's from Canada and he's from the same province as I am. I just wanted to interview because he had a video about the system around his town because he went to the Philippines. I think he's a PTK guy, and I think he also trains with Rutano, right? And then so what ended up happening is it kind of snowballed after that because people started knowing about me because around like August or September of last year, I wrote a bunch of articles about like FMA history, particularly the etymology of like Kali or Nisiskrima, and it kind of like raised a lot of eyebrows. And I was so surprised when like all these luminaries started commenting on my post, and because I thought I was just trying to be humorous, like it was half serious, like there's some scholarship in there, but also like half joking around, like some of my posts. So I was like, Professor Bott was there, Moromi, GM Renee, Mombaki, and I was just like, man, I'm like, what the heck? Like, you know what I mean? I didn't intend it to be like this. It just kind of blew up, and like I had like hundreds of reads. And so when I interviewed Dean, like I was totally on board what he was trying to do because his original plan is just to have people notice systems that most people don't know about here in the West. Excuse me. And so that made me really happy because I was like, yeah, that's what we should do. We should interview people that like are like under the radar. And what really warmed me to him, really warmed my heart, being involved in the channel was he interviewed Felix, which Felix Valencia. He's basically Edgar Salidas' brawler. I haven't seen Felix since the early 2000s. To make a long story short, I didn't have a falling out with him, but a guy that I was training judo at the time, they had a falling out with each other, and it's like I couldn't choose between them. So I haven't spoken to Felix since like the mid 2000s. So it's been 15 plus years. And so when he was in the episode, like my heart warmed up because I was like, hey man, like don't you want to meet up with like some of the backyard arena group? Because I'm still in contact with Eric, which was Edgar Salidas' first student in the U.S., like literal first student, right? And man, I was like, I gotta get involved with FMA discussion like for life after that, because like Dean has this capability of like bringing people together. That's like second, and then I think it comes from like an underdog type perspective, because he's very unassuming, he's very humble. He kind of has a heart of Filipino. And then when I found out like he's Italian and Native American, I'm like, yeah, that's why he got like a Filipino attitude about him. he tribal with that Catholic, the Roman Catholic thing going on.
I think that's one of the good things about the channel and groups like it, though really there's nothing like FMA discussion at the moment because of the quality and level of instructors you're bringing in. And I'd say also some people might see themselves more as practitioners, but you have connected, like in Julius's cases, people who haven't been in touch with each other for decades. And now, people are out there doing, we see the public calls going on, but I also know about a lot of private sessions that are going on that's evolved during this time. It's going to happen for Dean in the next part 2 of this episode, but let's talk about your background prior to getting involved with this. So anything, and try to keep it short because otherwise we go forever, but systems and teachers and any certifications and ranks you want to share. And we'll toss it to Dean first. And Dean, just go by a list because we're going to get into yours. So systems and ranks that you'd want to share right now.
I'll just make it quick. So my first FMA, I guess, accolade rank was the ensemble blend. So what usually happens in the ensemble blend is whether you're under the VUNAC lineage or directly under Dan or somebody that's under Dan, is that when you get your JKD, you also get your FMA. They kind of go hand in hand. Conceptual JKD, and you get your FMA. So that was my first, and all that. Even though I don't consider myself really a JKD person anymore, but then after that, I loved what I saw. SEAC, I forgot how I got acclimated to them, but somebody mentioned them. Then through the SEACs, I met the Atienzas. Fast forward, I had my school, so that took away from me like being my favorite thing, being a student. And then I sold the school because I wanted to be a student again. So then Burton, Tom Sotos Amok, Bong Avenir, and then now present day, David Gould, but I haven't seen him in a bit because of the COVID, but Brandon, who we're talking immensely about tomorrow. And I'm gonna feel bad. I think that's everybody. I hope I didn't miss anybody. And Vico, oh yes, and Vico Perrine. So that's kind of a quick timeline.
And then just so you could say, personally as a practitioner, did you have any aspirations from, I'm going to be involved with this. This is going to impact my FMA in X way. Was there anything like that for you?
As far as the channel is concerned, or no? Or just
in terms of I get to talk to these people. How is this going to impact?
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, I can tell you right now how I got really hooked up with Vico was through the channel, 100%.
No, but was that part of when you got involved? Were you expecting to evolve as a practitioner?
Oh, I see what you mean. No, funny. No, I didn't think that would be a side dish that would come along or a benefit that would kind of accompany it, but it most certainly has, because now I'm exposed to not only different people, but different styles. And then what it is you interview these people and you find, you find out what people you really connect with and you don't. And then as a result of that, there's definitely some teacher-student relationships that form from that, 100%. Vico being one of them, for the best example, So absolutely to that, yeah.
Cool. Tom, Julius, same thing for you. Systems, teachers, any ranks that you want to share. And one last question for you, Dean. How long had you been teaching before you started the channel?
So I started teaching FMA in the early 2000s, and ironically, most people start teaching adults. It was the opposite for me. Carl Atienza came by my school and saw the MMA program I was doing for the kids, striking, the clinch, double leg takedown, to grounds, side control. And he's like, wow, because your kids do that whole flow. And I said, yeah. I said, but that's stuff that we rep, and they're diligent and they put the time and work in, and we have a good chronology and chain link. And then he goes, wow, you think you could do FMA? I go, I know I could. Because why don't you try starting a problem? And so at the same time, Action Flex Sticks came out. So there's a couple things, plans were kind of lined up. Action Flex Sticks, Carl said, can you do it? I was on board, and I had a group of kids that were hungry. So my first teaching was actually teaching a pilot program for Atienzas using Action Flex Sticks. And then adults came. But ironically, mine was with kids, as opposed to everybody else, pretty much, I'm guessing, adults first.
And this is early 90s, I'm assuming, because Action Flex?
No, Action Flex didn't come out till like 2001 or so.
Really?
Yeah, Action Flex is
that late, okay.
Yeah,
I thought they were out earlier, but anyway.
Maybe late 90s, but I know where I saw them being used at the Sama, the SEAC, and all that.
I forgot that's 20 years ago. That is so long ago. Wait a second. My first, anyway.
I think I want to say the earliest I would absolutely say, because matter of fact, when I first saw them is I went to go do a weekend with Mark Denny, and this was 2001 or 2, and he had them. And then Carl started getting them. So I'm thinking 2000, definitely 2000s, I think they came out.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. I'll ask you more about that tomorrow or whenever we talk. So why don't you go next? We'll hear the Philippine perspective in SoCal.
You go first, Sir Tom.
Oh, okay. So prior to FMA, basically, I've been teaching Aikido for ages, and I've got a third degree black belt in Aikido. Practice different styles of Aikido as well, and I used to be a professor in the university before coming over here to the UK, teaching sports, dance, martial arts, self-defense, all those sorts. FMA wise, my first teacher was Elmer Ibanez, or the late Elmer Ibanez. And then from Elmer Ibanez, I went to John Scudero. Okay, so he's currently my mentor in Lightning. So at this point, I basically carry Lightning through his lineage, through his system. And then from Lightning, I got introduced to Calis Illustrissimo through Mampichi, and also Barao Sugbo through Grandmaster Boy Senisa as well. Did some Lameco on the side through my Warangdo practice. So, and then now I'm kind of learning some Lameco through Guru Roger Agbulos. And also I'm a certified lead instructor for No Live Blades, or the Surviving a Knife Attack here in the UK. More than 30 years of experience all in all in teaching.
So I would assume with that, you were teaching before you even started FMA then.
Yeah, I was already teaching Aikido. I was teaching sports. I was coaching athletes and everything. So, yeah.
Julius, how about your background?
I started when I was about 7 or 8. I was come from the region of the Philippines province of Bulacan, which is basically the close equivalent of probably Philadelphia here, where they ratified the Constitution, where a lot of revolutionaries were. My family was a Katipunan family, so it's like around that, that kind of circle. They also fought during World War II in the Hook Insurgency. And my clan was very split between like the right-wing nationalists and then the left-leaning, socialist people. So I learned that style. It's very similar to the one that Placido Yambao had, right? And which I thought, I don't mean to be critical of Master Ray Galang. It just seemed like Placido Yambao didn't give it all out, in that book. And it's kind of understandably so, because like if you're the Billy Badass of your generation, why would you give out all of your secrets, right?
No, that's consistent for all pre-2000 old men.
Yeah. So when I came
It's the
here
culture.
to the U.S., I was about 12 years old in '97. It's around the same time like Princess Diana died. I kind of soured through FMA because you have zero tolerance policies here in the U.S., which is dumb. Like you allow kids to get bullied, because if a kid fights back, like that kid also gets kicked out, right? So that really kind of soured me with martial arts in general, and at least in the Philippines, you can kind of like fight back, without getting kicked out or get sent to jail or whatever. I didn't pick it up again until I met Felix in the late '90s, early 2000s. Felix Valencia was one of Edgar Sulide's top students. So I learned Lameco when I was starting college, and then one thing led to another. My judo instructor, which was Jaime Vasquez, which was a longtime judge at KOTC. He's probably the longest serving judge of King of the Cage. They kind of had a falling out, and I lost contact with Felix then. And then I started training Laban Tulisan Laguna Eskrima with the people from that town, like the clans, like Romulo, Riotica, and Tagulinao. So I was trained like that family art. And those are basically my 3 systems. Now, outside of FMA, I wrestled in high school. And then in the late 2000s, because I knew someone in the gym. I was trained by Ruben Solorio. When it came to boxing, I trained in the Wildcard gym, Freddie Roach. I was trained by Pepper Roach, Freddie's brother, and Ruben Solorio, he was a stablemate of Lupe Pintor, which is like a fighter from the late 70s to the mid 80s. You know, Inglewood is a LA fighter. It's like one of the Mexican greats.
Nice.
And so it was like during the prime of Pacquiao, you know, that I saw all that. I saw all that. So that's pretty much my base. I just tend to keep with that. My MMA training was through Jaime Vasquez, and it's been a very good ride. And as for teaching, I don't teach. I trained like a kid that was just around my age or a little bit older than me, and he didn't use it for good. And that soured me to teaching. The only other person I taught was my lady friend, you know, and some family members. That's it.
Cool. So let's talk about FMA discussion today. You have some statistics ready, Dean?
I certainly do. So let's look at, let's just start chronologically speaking. So the first year was really slow growth. In other words, getting positive accolades. Oh, you're doing a wonderful job, you're bringing the community together, this and that, but not really reflective in the channel as far as subscribers. So I'm like, and at first I didn't really pay any mind and all that, but then in the conversation with Paulo says, look, you should think about getting your subscribers up there and you can monetize. And I'm thinking like, my goal was never to make money or to profit from this. But then I thought, well, hey, we could take that money and give it to charity. So that kind of sparked my interest. So I have to give so much credit to Paulo here, because Paulo, we were around...
Paulo Rubio?
Yeah, absolutely. We were around the 600s, 700s. And again, getting to the 1,000, matter of fact, at the time, I didn't even know you needed 1,000 members. I was so far removed from knowing anything about that. I just had the channel. My purpose of the channel was for a library. I had no goal, I'm gonna get this at 1,000.
And for the instructors out there, what he's talking about is YouTube. To allow you to monetize your channel, you need to have 1,000 subscribers. Otherwise, you're not getting anything. And even at 1,000 subscribers, like you're getting big cash. You're getting.
It wasn't always like that, because I was a YouTube partner years before that. That was implemented within the last several years.
So but again, I was just so far removed that it wasn't my goal. Like, I didn't even know anything really about it. It was just, okay. So then he was saying, and then I can honestly say with his broadcasting, his getting behind us, making posts, just everything that he did, he easily, I know for a fact, got us about 400 subscribers. He pushed us over 1,000 and all that. So why that's relevant is, as not only as a result of that, but then FMA, I saw FMA discussion like overnight go from in the low 2000s, 3000, somewhere around there, to like over $5,000 of in the group. So then you start to realize, this is picking up and all that. But again, the big change, Paulo definitely had a significant impact on far as a growth on the channel, subscribers within the group, the attention that we're getting. Nothing but positive accolades have come from him regarding us and what we do. He's been incredibly supportive. So he kind of really, was very instrumental and kind of where we're at today. And he did it selflessly. There was nothing in it for him. He just did it purely just selfless. So I have a, deep appreciation for what he did, in regards to that. And that's kind of what got us, so when I look at episode 100 to 200, obviously the audience I saw more kind of spike up. All that, the views on the YouTube channel, of course, kind of go up, so it's been, overall, as far as like being noticed, or like, hey, you should check this group out. You should check the channel out, so now, because now it's a group channel. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So there's two different entities going on. Yeah, a good chunk of people are the group because they really like how we handle the group, and then of course you got the channel, which is kind of numerically speaking, all the way one through all the way up to current episodes. You know, so
where have you taken a look at like where the viewership is coming from? Like, there's the statistics for the group itself. Like, what part of the world are they mostly from?
I'm going to say,
like,
I'm seeing mostly U.S. If I had to get U.S. PH, you know,
PH.
From
Yeah.
Canada,
PH.
I would have to say is probably maybe the third. But for instance, we're on to just hovering. We're just about to close on 1,400 subscribers. Now let's look at our most popular episodes, and this is why I picked you, because believe it or not, I don't know, you probably didn't know this. You're in the top 5 one way or another. Elrik.
Congratulations, Elrik.
So your number one
the information. I mean,
Your episode viewership, bro.
yeah. So 1,500 viewers. So 1,500 views as far as episode 66, as far as the Spanish colonization, your episode. Number 2 is Tom Sotis, around 1,500. 3, Mark Wiley. Episode 4 is the Four Fathers, which you were part of.
Yeah.
And episode 5 is your part 1 or 2. Part 1 or 2 of same thing though, the Spanish colonization.
Yeah, Spanish colonization. Yeah.
You're in 3 of the top.
I love that interview, Eric.
5. You're in 3 of the top 5 far as the most viewed. The most likes, and I don't know how he did it, but man, he did it. But is my second time interviewing Bong Abinir, and this was right before after episode 100. I think this was episode 105. Bong Abinir has 65 likes, and what that episode was Bong Abinir with this group in Manila, and we did the live broadcast when they're outside, and they were actually doing a class. But that's
I do remember that. Yeah,
65 likes. It wasn't due to me. So I don't know. So yeah, so that's kind of far as statistics, far as views and most likes. But here's the thing too is
it makes me wonder if here's what I was thinking. The episodes, because not most people want to listen to talking heads, right? It's a specialized audience. Who's going to watch this? Even though I'm looking, there's 11 people watching live right now. So hi, live viewers.
If you're watching, where are you watching from?
But I mean, it might be worth it to create a playlist on FMA Discussion of the episodes where people are actually demonstrating techniques, like interviews with techniques, because then you're going to get a different viewership.
That's something here. Okay, so I don't know if you want to segue into like kind of what we're thinking about as far as future context.
Yeah, let's jump into the future now.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So when Julius had me at 100, I'm thinking, okay, the dynamic was, okay, this is growing, this is getting some momentum, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to lose from my goals. My goals were not just getting big names, and I still stand by that today. If you look at our list from 100 today's episode, they're not all filled with big names. I'm telling you that right now. So I still stand by that. Definitely, I want to get more female presence in there. So that's still our still goals from way back episode 1. Currently speaking, and these guys are talking to these guys, is how could we get more creative? What do we need to do to be more relevant, more creative? Now, understand, we are an interview channel. We're not like FMA Pulse, where they're basically, nothing yet. I mean, they obviously do a great job. They got 11,000 subscribers. They're obviously doing something right. But they show techniques and stuff like that. So one of the things we thought about, or I thought about, I'm waiting to mention these guys, to get us collectively to talk about this, is that what if we made more of I'm saying, hey, look, we're going to interview you, but please try to have a partner there so you can showcase stuff.
Demo.
So that's definitely something that's on the itemization as far as we do. Okay, geographics. We made a very solid effort to attack Europe. and we're doing it. I mean, it's like we're doing it. I mean, next, Tom, and wherever else, Russia. And
Yeah, we're
now
slowly
they're
getting to
trying to
it.
convince Julius to attack Central America and South America. He just doesn't know yet. So when I look at geographic, so in other words, let's look at year one, episode 1 to 100. Canada, definitely U.S., Philippines. We're kind of the three areas. Now it's Canada still, the U.S. still, the Philippines, Europe.
Yep.
And I want the episodes 200 to 300. I want to be in Russia. I want to be in South America. I want to be in Central America. If they're India, more Southeast Asia, if there's reps in Japan, China, we want to hear from them. So we're looking globally now. Hence is why I brought these guys on, because there's no way I can do it by myself. There's just no way, because here's why I brought Tom on. Let's look at the time zones. I normally do my interviews 7 o'clock at night, generally speaking. Well, in Europe, it's 12 or 1 o'clock, depending on where you're in. It's not going to happen. I can't expect these people to be late, like what Tom's doing now for us.
Yeah. It's 1 a.m.
Tom is there.
So it looks like it's daylight with you, Tom.
So why not
Vampire Man
just attack that area? Like, you know what I mean? Now, of course, Julius could do too. I mean, I don't want to say it's just Tom. I mean, if Julius knows people in Europe, Julius should definitely get him on there. But you have to have, I'm finding that if there's an area going after, it really helps to have somebody geographically kind of living.
Yeah.
So my thought was, do I get somebody from the Philippines? And that's something I want to run by, guys, because the thing about the Philippines is not as bad as that 12-hour shift. So a lot of them don't mind doing it in the morning. Okay, so if I do it at 7 or 8, they're okay with 7 or 8 in the morning. You know what I mean? So that's
I've tried getting some people from the actually I have a few ones in the Philippines, but besides the time difference, you've got like problem with the internet as well. And with some of the old masters, their confidence in actually conversing in English is not there. So they want somebody to be with them.
I'd actually recommend that. Yeah, for the Philippines, and I'll just throw these names out there. Raymond Suba and then Daniel Bernis, actually Raymond Suba is closer to my age, and then Daniel Bernis is younger, a former national team. But then do the interviews in Tagalog. With Google, it can pick up and translate.
That's basically the plan. So if we're basically, I can do it in Filipino, and basically just have it translated.
So because Tom, you're what, 6-7 hours difference? 6 hours?
Yeah, there's Philippines is 7 hours ahead of me. So like for example, I managed to interview Jem, Ron, and the Wego Todo team. So I have to interview them 12 o'clock noon UK time. So it's gonna be 7 o'clock in the Philippines. So I have like Misha de Guzman, and I have Paulo Pagaling as well. So
Paulo's great.
We were in Warangdo before as well. So I knew him from Warangdo.
So
does Paulo have an interview already?
Who?
End of September.
Paulo Pagaling had a lot of contact with the different Metro Manila masters, but he's also traveled the Philippines, and currently is one of the guys who's done great work in finding and preserving and actually putting up video series for old men. Money from those go to the old men. So he's of like mind, so he's one of those that people don't know about, who's
he's
doing a lot of work pro bono.
I think 30th of September.
Yeah, it's September 30th. On September 30th.
Yep. 7 o'clock Philippine time.
Yeah, I want to definitely see that one. Julius.
What an apt name. His name literally is Paulo Better.
Magaling.
Yeah, he is really good. Yeah.
Here's another thing, though, Elrik. As far as kind of like creativity and what different directions we can possibly go in. Um, One of the things I'm thinking about is besides having the instructors show something, have somebody there. In other words, that falls on like, and I'm going to take the hit on this. Like, hey, like sometimes I'll get these guys in. Okay, I got them. Okay, next task. But really, what I need to do is put more thought and more say, oh, hey, okay, you're coming on this. Could you possibly get a training partner so you could showcase stuff? I'm not doing enough of that, and that falls on me. So that's certainly something I need to do more of. The other thing is, if you notice that a change from episodes 101 to 200, I created theme episodes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And the reason being is because, like anything else, there's going to come a point of exhausting. You exhaust a list. You exhaust the community. It's just the way it is. It's nothing. It doesn't mean it's bad, good, or indifferent. It's just the way it is. So by creating the theme episodes is basically me thinking ahead and elongating us to keep interviewing. So the themes thus far we had are legal carry, women's self-defense we had. I'm trying to think out loud here. A few others that we've had. I'm having one next Sunday on Pikita Tertiary. I'm going to have 3 Tuhans. So another thing is I'm going to do one on disarms. I mean, just so in other words, I'm having Todd Fossey come back on. We're going to talk about anything against.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm definitely.
Yeah, we have a second part for Todd. Yeah.
Making a conscious effort. Yeah. To definitely, because in other words, not just making it interview, but incorporate demos interview as much as humanly possible. More in the theme episodes, spreading out the geography. So with all that being said, that's kind of what we're looking for through episode kind of 200 on, so to speak. Julius, you got anything I missed or you want to add? Or I didn't think of?
Yeah. In all honesty, when I did those couple of trips, so I went to see Attilo, and I went to also Northern California. I mean, I have enough footage that's maybe 7 hours worth of footage that we can pare down to maybe 15-minute to 45-minute episodes. It's just that I'm between jobs. Look, I'm new to this current job I'm at, so I don't want to take a day off to piss them off because I'm still new, right? I want to keep my job. But the only holdup was waiting for music from my contacts in Central Europe, which I finally got this week. So that's one avenue that we could explore. That's actually do high production episodes. And because the thing is that was kind of golden because basically GM Emil passed away just a few weeks after I was there.
Yeah,
you have a couple people that you interviewed in FMA Discussion that no longer with us. So Felix is one of them. I have to thank Elrik for this because I was actually supposed to do episode 200 and it just kind of escaped my mind. I'm like, why is Dean not messaging me about that? I'm like, someone was probably going
to brought it up and nobody said anything.
Thank you for volunteering to do that because our plan was always to every episode 100, Dean would come back and I interview him.
I brought it up.
It was supposed to be a Halloween episode, but also every 100, Dean would kind of give overall health of the channel and what our plans are for the future every 100 episodes. That's what I really want to add to the channel is kind of branch out and make it more holistic FMA, and do basically mini documentaries because I used to work in Hollywood for stage setup and I could easily do that, I've done web series before, and also maybe even other systems. So so a great example is here in the United States, I'm friends with Frank Dimaporo, which is the brother of Ali Dimaporo, the warlord down south. He's the Marcos of the South back in the 70s. He passed away several years ago, but we can explore or get stuck in that chain of more CLOT and maybe even not just Mindanao, but Malay and in Indonesia. And as opposed to the South American episodes, I wasn't aware of that. This is news to me from the beginning, but I'm happy that Dean said that because the guy who I interviewed, David J. Daza, which is a direct descendant of Major Eugenio Daza during the time of the revolution, he offered us a lot of names for me, like from Chile and Argentina. And I was like, should I do that episode? Because I don't mind doing it in Spanish or whatever, like, but I was just like, like, shouldn't that be more like Dean's wheelhouse? Because like a lot of them were PTK people. So I'm totally down to like have that as an area of operation, like for interviews, like South and Central America. Absolutely, because I got a couple of names. So I'm so glad that Dean said that, because I was just like, man, should I buy in that chain? Because I asked them if they knew Ginang Arlene and the Ladra brothers, and they said they did.
Apollo.
So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I can interview them then,
Definitely do it. Yeah, we want to do that. The other thing too, Elrik, like Julius just mentioned, like actually the other thing we want to do is covering live events.
Yeah.
So for instance, hey, we know you're doing something live. Are you interested in FMA discussion part of your live seminar? You know what I mean? That's something we want to tap into. So in other words, what's going on in Connecticut, which is not really known for FMA, but however, what we have going on is what we do is they're having a big Minor Anise camp in Connecticut. I think it's the first week in October. I mean, you got Dan Anderson coming. I think Dieter's coming from Germany. I think Bram Frank's coming up. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go up and try to get them all in an interview or interview some while some are teaching. But I'm going to figure out the logistics on that.
The logistics, yeah.
What I'm getting to is that's an area we want to do to kind of tap into live seminar. If they're willing to have us in there and give them, we're going to give them. I'm hoping we would give them exposure. It would be a win-win for everybody, and all that. The other thing, if you notice, a couple episodes we kind of branched out of FMA, and I think, and I know I know the umbrella term is FMA discussion. However, though, when I look at CLOT and Mindanao, to me, that, but I think we're going to go into the CLOT because there is some parallel and all that.
Yeah,
we had Piper on. So why did I have Piper on?
Yeah.
For one, to show the compare and contrast to FMA. So I made it relevant. So the key thing is to basically, can you make it relevant? Even with a different system, can you bring relevance to the table under the umbrella FMA? And I know I can. You know what I mean? Like with compare and contrast.
I want to throw a monkey wrench in there because you're tapping into what was going to be my last question. What is FMA?
Oof. That's
monkey wrench.
All right, so we're going to go to the Forefathers episode. I'm going to play it right now.
Right, popcorn's out, guys.
This will be the four didn't plan on being troublemakers section.
Yeah. So this is
a contentious subject.
I'm the only one on the hook for this question. You guys too are going to have to do this. Excuse me, Elrik. There's one they keep. Mildred Nakamura. Yes, if you guys can get her on, or she wants to be interviewed.
Yeah, I've sent Mildred a message because her name was given to me by Peachy, by Mom Peachy. Yes.
That's another person we've been trying to get on for. I can honestly say for over a year is Peachy, and just unfortunately no luck. But
yeah, no luck. I've tried this.
That's another thing too we could talk about after this question, Elrik, is kind of some of the frustrations in the group. But
sure.
But as far as FMA, so FMA to me is okay. So here's the thing. I'm going to give this. I'm going to give the answer from both perspective of like what it meant to me prior to the channel.
That's a great
means to me now being exposed to interviews, talking to folks, and all that. In other words, to me, FMA, having like when I had Maya Paulon and all that, and a few other guys talking with Mark Stewart. We had that kind of going on with Dwight Woods and all that.
Yeah, that was I watched that one.
Yeah, and I
just want to say something too, Dean. First, just give you guys a little bit more freedom. I'm asking these three gentlemen right now, what is FMA? But it's important to get that this is different perspectives. We got Phil M. immigrant who, childhood in the Philippines, Dean, who's not Filipino, but he's been immersed in it for 30 years now. Same thing for Tom, but Tom's, he got immersed in the Metro Manila and different scenes here in the Philippines. So their answers are going to be different.
Yeah, which I think will make it interesting.
We should understand and hear the different opinions because they're valid for how they grew up. You got people who've been around FMA for decades here, and yet their answers are going to be different. And that's an important thing to understand about FMA. So please say your thing.
Yeah, that was great to bring up, right? Because they're going to be different. I just realized I'm with three Filipinos.
You're surrounded.
Dean, you were
thinking about the Sesame Street. One of these squares is not like the other.
Yeah. So we sing it.
Dean, you're greatly outnumbered. You best go to your mass attack tactics. So FMA pre FMA discussion. My lens of FMA was okay, Filipino martial arts. So anything that was Filipino or construed as Filipino fell on this umbrella of Filipino martial arts. And at the time, not now, but back then, pre-channel, also threw Mindanao under that because I frankly didn't know any better. Ignorance. Now, subsequent to channel and having guests on, talking with guests, reading more on it based on what certain guests said, going diving into what they said, trying to find out on my own, I firmly believe, based on evidence, interviews and all that, discussion, that FMA is an American term. Okay, that was an American term that now is used as an umbrella term, all that. However, that should not include martial arts. Matter of fact, from my understanding, there are more arts that don't want to be under the FMA umbrella. They don't want to be, and I don't blame them. They're, So my FMA understanding or what that term is really different today as it was in late 2019 when I started this. So a year and a half, much different perspective on what FMA is, and then back then. So I think it's an American term that's been used as an umbrella term. I think it's used loosely. Not that it means it's bad. It's, again, generic term. They tend to be used loosely. However, I don't think it shouldn't be all-encompassing of all edge weapons, regardless of the islands in the Philippines. More specifically, Mindanao and all that. And that's my piece. So, you guys.
Okay, so Tom, from a perspective of the Philippines, especially since you're connected to a lot of the folks over here, because, there's also the nationalistic perspective of this is all the Philippines, and some of the Salat masters also taught for the national team, the Philippine national team.
Yeah.
Expand on its use and context. What is FMA?
Okay. I might be shot for this, but anyway. No. Okay.
You're safe in the UK, I hope.
Well, to be honest, the term FMA I only encountered actually when I came here to the UK. Back in the Philippines, it's just Arnis Eskrima. Okay? Not even heard the word Kali. So it's Arnis and Eskrima. So I know like Arnis, generic more on Luzon area, Eskrima from Cebu area. Okay? So only those two. And coming from the neighborhood of Tondo, okay, there is like the street, okay, the street system, the street tactics. So that basically for me would comprise what I would deem as Filipino martial arts. You've got like the learned arts, okay, like the Arnis and Scream and everything, and you've got the ones that you learn from in the backyard, in the hoods, okay, which basically, especially with regards to like knife works or blade work or knife versus knife, that's how I learned it from first, not initially through FMA. or not basically from Arnis, not from Eskrima. Okay, so for me, coming from the Philippines as well, and who grew up in Tondo, that what comprises basically FMA for me. But as I've said, while still in the Philippines, I call it Arnis or basically Eskrima, depending on the style where they are from. Okay, depending on the province they are from. But it is only here in the UK that actually I encountered even the word FMA and Kali. Okay, and the Kali side was basically I got it from basically FMA students of from the Inosanto system. So there, and basically researching for it, it becomes like it's just an umbrella. FMA becomes an umbrella term, just like Japanese martial arts, Chinese martial arts, and all those sorts. Okay, but I knew before, even before that, the Souths aren't actually necessarily within the umbrella, because I know there is a political and geographical situation with the South. So, but that's why when some of the English do practices under Inosanto went, oh yeah, Arnis is from this area of the Philippines, Eskrima is from this area, and Kali is from this area. It's like, which area are you referring to? The South? Yeah, Mindanao. No, they're not. Okay, because they said like the difference is Arnis is from Luzon, and Eskrima is from Cebu, and then Kali is from Mindanao. It's like, no, it's not. I'm sorry.
And you bring up a good point, Tom, because you keep saying Cebu, and like people don't realize Arnis is what's more predominant in the Ilonggo-speaking areas or Ilocano. Yeah, and it's like lightning Arnis.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Exactly.
In the little heart of the Visayas. So it's like, unless you study the history, it's like, why is it down there? But it's interesting stuff.
And in some of the southern Tagalog systems, they use Eskrima or Brokil
as well. Yeah, exactly. So there were, and I mean, reading some articles, reading from, and you see basically where it's coming from. So this particular discrepancy or misinformation of where the words come from. So it's just like, no, I'm so sorry, but it's not basically how it is really. But especially back in the Philippines, it's not how it is. So yeah.
Julius, anything else you want to add from like a historical perspective or?
Yeah, FMA is a blanket umbrella term that came up here in the West that is now progressively being used more in the Philippines to describe a corpus of knowledge of combat, whether armed or unarmed, to describe this corpus of knowledge of combat for the Hispanicized sections of the islands of the Philippines. So that does not include unconquered tribes up north. That doesn't include the inner mountain tribes, all over the Philippines, whether that's Aita or the different, indigenous tribes. And that doesn't include the Lumad groups or the Moro tribes down south. That's my interpretation of it. The good thing is it's coming, to me, that it is a good thing, that it's coming more in vogue use also in the Philippines to describe like just like Japanese martial arts, just like Chinese martial arts, as Tom said, because there really are too many terms. Because when you say here, and I've gotten into fights, whether verbal or not, here, particularly students of a certain blend. You know what I mean? I don't want to get specific, but to say that they said that the northern, the Luzon part is Arnis. It's not necessarily true, because in southern Tagalog, where I'm from, we don't call it that. We don't call it Arnis. Typically it's Eskrima. Some people call it Arnis, but some call it Brokil for the buckler, right?
Yeah,
it's a bastardization of the word buckler, or Garote, right? When I was growing up as a kid, we didn't have no names. I didn't learn a numerato. I learned geometric patterns.
You know, I learned geometric patterns, and I was fed situations. And then when I asked them, like, what am I learning? They just said, oh, panlaban, meaning like you use this for fighting.
Yeah, for fighting.
Now, when I
Yes.
say corpus of knowledge, I also include jailhouse tactics. I also include assassination martial arts, because I grew up in 3 different places. I grew up in Malolos. I grew up in Batangas, where my mom's family is from, and I also grew up in Tondo, where Tom is from. Except he's from Gagalangin, and I am
Yeah.
from Asuncion, right by
Yep.
Sabala Street and Padre Rada. So that's like
It's
a
like
rough.
different boroughs of New York for
Yeah, that's
those who
like a
don't know.
roughneck.
And they're literally
I'm like
that
the
close to
roughneck
each other.
area, you know, where like
Boroughs.
Ashong Salonga and Toothpick are from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my grandmother, my great grandmother, bought that house during the turn of the century. So like it wasn't quite like that. It wasn't quite like ghettofied yet. It only became really ghettofied after World War II, because the whole city was destroyed and leveled, and most people use like corrugated steel to build whatever like tenement they can to survive.
Mm.
So to me, I include that. I include like jailhouse systems in FMA, because even though it's not formal, even though it's not like angle 1, angle 2, because you still use it to kill people, so, or fight.
Yeah.
So that's it.
I'll expand on it, and you guys could tap onto this also. But I think people coming in new to FMA, and even instructors who've been around a while, especially if you've been in for like 20 plus years, you think this is FMA. But nowadays we got people with 30 years, and their FMA is like they've been in a system with 20 years worth of curriculum. They learned a lot via seminars and videos. So it's a very different experience for they go to the Philippines, and it's like, wait, this is not organized at all. But it would be dumb on my part to discount either one, especially if both systems have students who can fight, are very effective, have good strategy. Their background in FMA is very different. You know, you got the backyard groups, and then you also got, you know, folks who just came up, and it's totally a hybrid, you know, a mix.
Hybrid,
different
hybridized
influences. And, you know, I've mentioned this before, a good number of the old men had what they called combat judo or combat jujitsu.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, some of that was from Japanese sources, but a lot of it was also, like Julius is talking, street stuff. So it encompasses different things. And I'll throw in the last kind of monkey wrench. That's kind of the opposite of what you guys are saying, even though I agree with it, is that in the Philippines, you know, there's always going to be the push of a nationalistic movement. So they're going to call all of it FMA. But in terms of like the context and the historical context, what we think of FMA, most people think of FMA from the Christian areas. But then, you know, there's going to be the folks in the West and also here in the Philippines who are saying, no, it fits in the Philippines, it's FMA. So they'll include you know, an art like Yaoyan, which is a modern art that has interesting founder. But no one can discredit the fighting ability and the pride that the fighters have brought to the Philippines in international MMA competitions. So, you know, FMA is a huge mix. Anything else you guys want to add to it?
Yeah, now I don't want to get hit with an Armalite when I come home, because I know this thing might get pissed off a couple people. But I'll throw this out right here. That also depends on the time period that you'll ask him. Because I'll bet this, if you ask this question during like early period, you know, Marcos, when like the standard of living was high, you know, before, you know, full on corruption, or even Makapagal, some of those groups back in the South would want to be included in that FMA banner, because there were calls of like, we want to take Sabah and like, you know, make it part of the Philippines and have a kind of like a pan Philippine Indonesia alliance, Malaysia alliance kind of thing. So it even depends on what decade you ask that question, because like some decades, like they want to be like, oh, we want to be part of FMA because life is good, right? And then other decades would be like, we're warring with you right now, we don't want to be under your banner. So to me it also depends on like when you ask that question, you know what I mean?
Just throw it out there, you know, I'm seeing some of the younger folks in like moral communities who, they got aspects of their traditional arts and they want to teach it, but they're now, you can see the influence of them seeing what else is out there, and they're like teaching it with pretend. But from the elders I know, it's like, no, you never learned moral arts without a blade.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you train with it? But you look back into early American colonial period, you see little kids with blades. So they always had blades. Now you can't
definitely.
come with a moral or a Chris. So the teaching methodology, has evolved and changed over time. And
it does. It does.
And I want to add, like, another hallmark of a pure, like a transition from a Bugei art to a Do or Jutsu to Do, is that they never delineate. If they're still using it to fight, they don't care where it comes from. They don't care what influence of like having to add like what you call combat judo, or having to add Western boxing or Northern Chinese forms, or Greco. They don't care about that. They just incorporate it, and they'll call it their fighting system. They don't, because they're still using it. It hasn't really been truly formalized yet. It hasn't been calcified yet by tradition, because you're still trying to hurt someone with it. It's still being used out in the field. So, I think people have to stop, like, where it's like, oh, did this come from? Yeah, it came from Europe. This one came from like Northern China. Yeah, it did. But now it's FMA, because like it's a holistic fighting thing that they're using. You understand?
Yes. Yeah. And I think one of the things that maybe both good and bad with FMA is because we have the ability to adapt any weapon and make it our own and basically bring it to our system. So of course the only bad thing there is sometimes we do try to like bastardize, so sorry for the term, the history part of it, that it is part of FMA. It is part of or traditional, but it's not really. It's we adopted it. But that is the one thing good with FMA as well. And
it's alive. It's alive.
Yeah, it's alive. And like what Elrik said, the Filipinos have is very nationalistic when it comes to like even embracing the term FMA, although it's a modern term, but it has embraced FMA as really like this is ours. This is ours. Okay. Yeah. So
So shift gears again for you guys. 200 episodes.
Yeah.
We want to,
what have you learned about? Yeah, what have you learned about the greater FMA community?
I think this is a good where we could tie the group in. So because the group is where you really see the community dynamic. In other words, so when I first was doing the interviews, I immediately created the channel for, again, pure intentions of the library. But then I got to thinking, I'm like, hey, it'd be kind of neat to have a group that would coincide with the channel. So hence I created FMA, but I didn't create the FMA discussion group till I was 8 interviews in, because I remember one day I'm like putting all these interviews in there, and like a handful of people joined. But so my goal for the group was that, as far as the FMA community, and this is where the FMA community will kind of tie in, was I wanted the group. In other words, I had different goals for the channel, different goals for the group. My goal for the group was that where people could come, express themselves without being attacked, ridiculed, jumped on, whatever negative, content you want to put. Because what happened was, obviously being exposed to previous groups and seeing some of the dynamic and the behavior that was allowed and all that. And also, I had a group late 2000s when I was really a nobody. Still, it was called Blade Technologies. Carl Tienza said, "Look, you should call your major's knife. So why don't you call this Blade Technologies?" So I'm like, all right. So it started growing, but I really started seeing some of the nastiness. And what happened is I ended up shutting it down. I basically closed the account, shut it down. So, but the good thing that came out of that, it made me very goal-oriented in the creating FMA discussion. And thus I had which created a mission statement and all that. Where I did have to do some backpedaling and all that is when the group got bigger, I started seeing that negative dynamic. Not by everybody, but we all know it just takes a few. I mean, the majority of people are good. The majority of people are good. They're going to interact well. They're not going to jump into negativity and all that. So hence the mission statement, some other stuff that's allowed, not allowed. And there were a couple of weeks that we went through a rocky period. All in all, I think it's really running well. Like it's pretty much on autopilot. Like I can't remember the last time that we've had to remove somebody or that I had to remove it. I mean, it's really, and here's the thing, you have to impose zero tolerance.
Yeah.
Because if you allow it, it's going to snowball because other people say, hey, that. But when people really understand, hey, this is not the place to do this.
Yes.
Hey, this is not the place where you can act like this. And so we've really, and Brian Rodriguez, he mentioned here because he does incredibly well moderating as well as these two guys. But it takes that collective effort where you got to be on top of it. Because I'm telling you, because the reason why I got more moderators, I noticed a distinct difference when we went over 3,000. I'm like, man, this is getting crazy. I'm here every day. I'm getting messages. I'm like, job. I'm putting out fires.
Yeah. Trying to referee.
Because you mentioned Brian Rodriguez. Who else are part of the FMA discussion team? Let's give a shout out.
Basically right now it's Brian Rodriguez, who's kind of taking a little break but still involved, and of course
Martin,
guys who also moderate and interview. We had Martin, who was wonderful, but Martin
who?
Martin, somebody help me with the last name. Julius Martin.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Desolier.
Yeah.
Yes, Martin. Yes, whatever Julius said. Yes. Sorry, Martin. Really, Martin is a fantastic guy. I mean, matter of fact, how Martin got on was Martin was doing some of the time stamps for us. Like he just started doing it.
Like,
Like just kind of like your brother.
Yeah.
Like
he actually moderates the 36th chamber.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So he just started doing this. Like we didn't ask him, and I'm thinking like, wow, this was like really nice for him to do without even
Yeah, I do remember that timestamps.
Yeah, right, it was. So I say, hey, would you mind being like a moderator? But Martin is taking time off Facebook. He's actually completely gone from Facebook and all that.
Yeah.
So really, it's the four of us. So I had to get moderators. It was just too much. I mean, literally, like I would start my morning out dealing with messages of basically this, that, taking comments out, sending messages, hey, could you please not do this? There's a better way to doing it. Being tactful and polite, and all that. And finally, I'm like, man, I just gotta get other moderators, man. Just get like. So Brian came on, who's been excellent, and then so now there's four of us, and I tell you that, but it's been pretty much governing. It's been autopilot. We don't, and that's the way it should be. Like but you have to set those parameters in the beginning. You can't leave loosey goosey. You have to if it means like you're booting people out, you're removing comments, you're saying messages. But once you do it, you're not going to regret it because it's going to make your life so much easier running that group and that's basically that. As far as the community there, I think is really good. The only thing that bothers me, and it's not even really negative, you still see the tribal. Okay, no, I'm not gonna like it. It's not PTK or nope. It's not KI. And I just wish there would be. But you know what? It's better than nothing. Most of it's positive. You have to start somewhere.
Yeah, you won't be able to please everybody. So
you can't hope for 100% unity. It's just
exactly.
And that's the way I look at things. Like I've kind of retailored like my expectations, and my expectations now are like, hey, I'm not putting out fires. The majority of people get along. There's no fighting. People like the group. Maybe that's enough. You know what I mean? Whatever these guys want to add to it.
I shifted up to another question already. What and then if you still want to touch on it, go. But when you went into it, we have our conscious viewpoints, but then also unconscious viewpoints. Which viewpoints of the FMA community were reinforced 200 episodes in? And the next one's going to be like, what were the surprises? What evolved your thinking? And you've already answered some of this, but new things. What was reinforced from doing this, and then what was also like, oh, this surprised you?
What was reinforced was the void that there was not having a voice, not having practitioners, instructors, head of systems, having a voice and be able to share what they're doing, share their system, share their journey, share their passion. Definitely avoiding that. Like if you look at if you look at when we first came out late 2019 or 2000, I'm not gonna say the names. I can tell you 4 right off the top of my head. People are doing the same thing we're doing, just not as large a scale, or they're doing it more on YouTube, or maybe sometimes live on Facebook. So what that tells me is that we're doing something right, we're doing something good because others are starting to follow, which is fine. Hey, if it makes the community better and bigger and better, all that. So that's far as like what I was expecting or hoping to expect. Things kind of the side dishes that came with it that I wasn't expecting was the people I met. Like, you don't think about that. Like these are people now that like I absolutely love to speak with. I talk to like me, the conversations with me you have, Elrik. These guys here, obviously Brian. I met Brian through this. Brian's has become like a great friend, and his wife Rose. Vico. Me and Brandon. I knew Brandon before, but me and Brandon, like
Brandon Ricketts.
Yeah, are actually like they're not just teachers of mine. Like there's actually like a relationship there.
Yes.
That would have never happened if I didn't have FMA Discussion. Like I met Vico through an interview with him. Dave Fogy recommended him. I interviewed him, and then I was in with Jeff Cruz. He saw me do something stupid, probably a technique or something. And I think he said, I just got to be honest. And he said, hey, and he called up. He goes, hey, you got a few minutes? And sure enough, he corrected me on what I was doing and all that. But that would have never happened. So
if not for FMA Discussion.
The relationships, more knowledge on the systems, different systems, more like learning. Like there's a ton I've learned doing this. Still learning. I didn't know much about scientific lightning, and lightning scientific. I didn't know much on modern yeast. I learned about modern yeast through this channel. Of course I knew about Remy Prices, but I didn't really understand how we got
the depth of it. Yeah.
The schools, how we got into the traditional schools, spread it. More on some of the moral systems, or more on what else? Some of the different sections of Dose Paris and all that. So it's a significant learning curve. Those are big dishes. I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just got to do a time check and be responsible. It's 8:54. So we've been talking for,
we're going
84 minutes.
We're going close to an hour and a half, which we thought would be on our
I'm good. Yeah, don't worry about me. Yeah.
Okay. Because we might have to lose Tom, but because there's a couple questions too from other folks. And so I want to just kind of bring it back together. You've touched on this a lot in terms of problems within the group and different things. But from Fred Jaravata in NorCal, he was asking, what are the biggest problems in FMA today? And let's contextualize it. Why are they even problems? So you touched on the tribalism. There's good sides and bad sides to it. But, it's like you would hope that there'd be more inclusivity. I think we can leave that one alone unless there's something constructive. So let's make this a constructive conversationalist. No complaints without a solution.
Yeah. And that's what. No, I totally agree. No, I mean that's another reason why FMA discussion was formed. I could sit back and like, gee, we don't have a voice. We're lacking unity. Well, I chose to do something about it. So definitely, let's go with that route. So the tribalism. I think the positive of the tribalism is that you're within a group, you're with a clique of people that you gel with, that you are building bonds with, that you are keeping something pure and all that. I think those are the absolute positives that come out of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would say also
basically you maintain your lineage as well.
Yeah, maintaining lineage.
Yeah.
And purity of form.
Yeah.
And then also fighting ability.
Yes.
And that's, it happens to get very strong within a tribal, like, this is my crew that,
Yeah.
There you go. There's a perfect example of that. I mean, what Edgar created with those guys, that mini tribe. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, that backyard group is a famous example.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. And where I
want to address the last two questions. Yeah, I want to address the last two questions that you said. So the last two questions, the spirit of those two questions, getting involved, what I found out, the truisms that I found out within the 200 episodes is that the strife with FMA is both, I know it's a contradiction, it's both understated and overstated. So that's a truism that speaks to me. Understated in the sense that, I give an example. My plan was like to kind of bring the community together with the Budo fight, like a world record Budo fight for the Guinness World Records. That's hard to do in a global pandemic, right? And a lot of people really don't want to do that. They don't want that to happen. But and then my alliances with Karate and Garaje and June and Paul show and Gina and Arlene, we all still get along. In fact, I did a debate episode of theirs last night. So it's simultaneous that it's true that people don't get along, and simultaneous that it's overstated, right? Because just because it didn't work out having like a kind of like a tandem episode with those other channels, other FMA channels, doesn't mean that we get along. It's just that we're so busy, just kind of like what's happening in this global pandemic. Everyone kind of suffered like some kind of minor trauma because maybe they were affected economically, or they have to think more in terms of like taking care of their immediate family members as opposed to this, which is for most people just a hobby, right? The other truism that I found out is, it really is, when it comes to systems, that when the founder dies, the different students, for the most part, I don't know why that's the case. In different systems, like the Chinese, Japanese, more the Korean model, they value like lineage and name, right? In the Filipino systems, it's like the master could still be alive, and his system might already have like 4 or 5 different names, depending on his top students, right? Because after I stopped training with Felix, I actually started with with Eric, which was Edgar's first student. Then I trained with Felix, and now because of FMA Discussion, thank you for FMA Discussion, I met Roger. So I kind of have like a top-down view of where they took their thing, and it's all different. So that's one thing like I found out is unlike other martial arts systems, FMA is ever evolving, and it's hard for it to be like really pure because we all have different body types, we all have different personalities, so that's like a truism that rose to the top. Like, it's just unfortunate Edgar died so young. He didn't even make 40.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, okay, go. Karen, Julius.
No, I'm just saying that those are kind of the truisms that became evident to me after, the channel hitting episode 200. Now that's all.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, tribalism is both good and bad. The thing is, it all depends on the person, basically, that you're dealing with. Yeah. Some people are open up to other systems, to basically to learn from other systems, but some people aren't. So whether it is it's their core value, so there's nothing that we can do about it. Okay, so
yeah, there are some systems like you're still going, and some instructors, it's going to take a while for you to get in there.
Yeah,
and then you're
that's
going to
true.
have to jump through while you're within that system.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's true.
it can be terribly a negative experience. And I've also met people who do that, and there's a lot of integrity in how they screen and make people, jump through hoops.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
true.
you can't just say, "Oh, they teach like this. It's a cult." Not
Yeah.
always.
No, it's not. It's not always.
But
No,
you
it's not
should know
always.
that it could be.
It could be, but I mean, like this particular issue about secrecy and everything. Okay, it's not just really. It's not really about secrecy, but it's for a lot of instructors who are sensible. It's just to make sure that they basically send the correct message, or basically they teach you this particular technique when you are ready, because otherwise it's very easy to misconstrue to be misguided. Okay, that is very easy to happen. And sometimes, let's face it, some people learn like, for example, martial arts for sometimes for not for the good reasons. Okay, like I myself, I have encountered this over here. Somebody wants to have private lessons in just in knife fighting. He doesn't want to learn anything about any of the other stuff in FMA. Just about knife fighting. It's like, why?
Yeah.
So you need to have a vetting system as an instructor. Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. So there is a reason for there is a reason for that. It's not just, well, I know there are some instructors who basically sell that, market that secret as a marketing gimmick, just to be able to get more money. But I mean, for sensible instructors, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That some knowledge doesn't need to be given out publicly. One of my
Exactly.
mentors,
Yeah.
I'll do what's been traditional. He's been mentioned on FMA Discussion a number of times as Secret Squirrel and other names.
Yeah.
But it's just like his only rule is, don't teach my boys the knife stuff. You got to wait till they're adults.
Yeah.
But that was Sonny Umpad's. Jay and Greg only had to learn from Jay. I'm forgetting their last names, but from Besides Stock Orthogadena. Sonny Umpad would not teach them blade until they were adults.
Yeah.
They had to learn.
That's
first.
true. That's true. That's true. And even in the Philippines, that's the reason why even a lot of the FMA styles, to be accepted in schools, they have to codify the way they teach it. They have to, let's say, water down the way they teach FMA, because they won't be allowed to teach in schools if they're going to be teaching people how to maim other people or to kill other people. So it has to be presented in a way that is more defensive. So there are reasons for that.
Just trying to rush it through because I don't want us to go over 2 hours, and we got 27 minutes left. This question, I'm going to put the last part of it first, but is this question even important? And the question is, how might we recognize the next Tatang, Cabales, Kakoy, or Gahe level of person? And I'm gonna, and this is also from Fred Jaravata, but I'm gonna also add, some of those men were known for being badass fighters, but then some of them are known for being badass innovators, and some were known for being badass teachers. 3 different things. So how do we recognize the next? I'll use his list again, and I'll use the full names: Antonio Ilustrisimo, Tatang Ilustrisimo, Angel Cabales, Kakoy Cañete, or Leo Gahe. So is it important, and how do we recognize them?
I don't know. Again, this is just my opinion because of the times that we're in.
And it's just your guys' opinions. People can disagree. That's okay.
Yeah. Because, you look at Ilustrisimo back then, World War II, being the scout, doing this and that, his times in Mindanao and all that. Obviously, a lot of it being kind of self-defense related and all that. Today, in the Western civilization we're at, it's more, in other words, if we look at, again, using the umbrella term FMA in the States, it's recreational. Let's face it, we're not we're not going to be facing a war with the other town across from us, and we need to, and all that. So I don't know if we could see. I think we can see exceptional skill level, but I don't know if we're going to have that inherent kill, that inherency that it had in them, those guys, because we're not at war. There's there's no threat in America. I mean, it's like I go out, we know we're doing this recreation. We're doing it because it fills a void. We love it and all that. But I don't know if it's if we can say like, hey man, Brandon Ricketts is the next Illustrissimo. Now, Brandon, 27 years old, could potentially, in my opinion, maybe. You know what I mean? I mean, he's certainly got the athletic gifts, the natural talent, and all that. But is there a need for him to be like that in modern day culture? So I think skill-wise, I think we can see parallel, but the kill for the self-defense or the experiences what those guys went through, especially, I can't speak on some of the other ones. I can only speak on just from knowing about KI. Like, I'm not sure KI, what he went through and all that, but that's just my opinion. I think skill level, we can see parallel. That need to kill like Illustrator had to. I don't know. Maybe if
you're delineating between skill level, but also mentality. And I know a handful of instructors who've actually killed people using their skills. But it's like, and I'm talking about living instructors. Of course, they're the old men who did that. But living instructors who've actually had to do that for different situations. But it's like, unless you have that lifestyle, you're not going to get some of the same attributes and the application of skill that the old men got into. There's people who live in areas that are like the U.S. or South American equivalents of Tondo, where they get into it weekly, sometimes several times a week. But,
yeah. I mean, but I guess I'm talking more our culture, like states.
Yeah. Well, I also think you got a worldwide audience. You got people living in different environments. And I forgot to mention, part of the FMA community is tactical. Yeah. So there are people who are coming into it. We're actually going to go apply this, during a mission somewhere.
Yeah, if they're military based and I guess I'm talking about the average layman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But definitely military, CIA, special forces, special services. I mean, sure.
So I'm going to throw the question back to you guys. You've touched on, Dean's talked on it. Is it important in like the difference in like lifestyle? But is it even important to recognize like this is the baddest person or someone of that caliber? Because fighting ability is one thing, and I think their lifestyle and their record will speak for itself.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think if you really want to get a holistic answer to that question, it's going to take me a long time to explain. I think it's just
we're losing you, Julius.
Julius.
Oh, he's outside.
Yeah, we can't hear anything you're saying, so we'll wait for him to come back. Like we lost Julius.
I'm not sure.
Anything you want to say? I mean, especially given the interviews. Anything you want to say about like innovation as teachers and being just innovative in terms of like how they view and are able to pass on knowledge about the arts? What are you seeing?
Darren Friesen, definitely, as far as innovation, forced range training, what he does, but taking from Central America, Screamo Crayola, some of the training methods, absolutely. His name, just because of where he veered off as far as FMA, I think he's probably the best example I can come up with that's innovative as far as training methods and all that, but also is adopting because of the culture he lives in. Again, he's neighboring to Nicaragua, El Salvador. I mean, he's in
the thick of it.
Right. So again, though, like he even admits it, I'm not living in a country town in Montana.
Yeah, that's true.
So the prevalence of adapting that stuff, or the more important, that mindset, is not as important because, and he said it kind of in the interview with him, because of geography. Where am I living? This is what I need to do or know because where I'm living.
Wait, what are you hitting with that stick, huh?
It's gardening again. Pruning the tree.
Like a small leaf.
It's a farmer system.
A small leaf. Like,
hey, you better not be showing a secret technique there. When I see leaves, I'll shut up now. I'm not going to say anything else.
very small leaf.
The way FMA has been going throughout these years is becoming really diverse, and yeah, as much as we do recognize the old school grandmasters, because they lived through what they were teaching because of the nature of their lifestyle. Today, as Dean said, it's kind of different, unless basically you are as well in that kind of lifestyle. If you're in the military, if you are in the LAO, or if you're in the security business, then the way you approach basically the way you teach FMA would be different from others. Now, today, I would say, if in my opinion, basically you're going to see instructors with different calibers and with different approach, the way they teach as well. So you'll be able to you're going to see like instructors who are really very good in teaching, really very good in managing organizations and everything, but not necessarily be, I would say, somebody will always be like a killer person. Okay, so it's different. Okay, but you're going to have like grandmasters still who because of the nature of their work, they still walk it. Okay, so you're going to have those discrepancies now, and in this modern society, okay, we as basically people were in the journey, we should be open to all these differences as well, and be able to basically see a teacher based on their true capacity, and be able to appreciate them based on their true capacity. And your master is not good as my master, and all these things. I mean, it is something that at some point it's very limiting to the growth of the community. Okay, so we have to be open-minded these days when it comes to like recognizing and acknowledging certain teachers, certain grandmasters. Yeah, that's just my point. That's just my point of view on that one.
No, it's very good to understand that there is a difference between fighting ability, teaching ability, innovation.
Yeah.
There are instructors who are going to be brilliant at seminar teaching.
Yep.
And you'll get a lot of value out of
definitely.
that.
Yeah.
Different types of seminars, whether it's the information fire hose.
Yeah.
Or and then there's some people, and I hear there's a lesser demand for it, where it's like, no, this is a workshop focused on like like 5 techniques, but we're gonna apply, and it's gonna be almost like a fight camp. Like, how do we fight with these things? So there's
that's true.
Different skill sets, and folks who focus just for LEO, different for usage.
Definitely. Yeah.
I'm going to bring this to another one of Fred's questions: is how might technology improve FMA? And this goes, and so inside of that includes social channels like Facebook. It is still the time of COVID for many parts of the world. Like, I'm here in Manila. Like, I will not visit any of my mentors who are over 60 unless I've been locked in my house for at least 10 days. Yeah. Because I don't want to be the asshole who gives, GMX COVID.
That's true. That's true.
So like, okay, now people who would have never taught via video or, a Zoom call are doing that.
Yeah.
So any other ways that technology is improving things?
Well, actually, when it comes
Or
to
can
training,
improve FMA?
yeah, when it comes to training, you already have quite a lot of technological advancement when it comes to protective equipment. That is that is basically one of the big plus when it comes to FMA, and I mean technology when it comes to using technology for FMA. So now you've got like training equipment that is more sustainable. Okay, that sometimes is more forgiving when it comes to contact. So, like for example, those like the no live blade felt knives, and I think other systems also have them. And also, you've got all those like the
Just gonna
AccuStrike.
get some of those things you're talking about.
All right, okay, you've got the AccuStrike. Different instructors are also like innovating now, like padded sticks. Like Von is doing one. So we also have here in the UK was doing as well. So in that respect, technology is already helping FMA. I mean, even with the padded gears.
No, gear in
It's
general.
becoming lighter now, unlike before.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
The
It's
technology
heavy.
of gear in general has been.
Yeah. And then I mean, Zoom lessons have been a click since the lockdown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so knockoff of the Edgar Salita handguard.
Oh yeah.
Though I just want to acknowledge that it's come out that these were actually invented by his training partner in the Philippines, who I believe is in the UK now, and I can't remember his name. But you guys remember Edgar Salita?
Oh,
First with an E, I think.
Who?
But yeah, he invented those, and it makes sense that
he's in Scotland
the
now.
training partner of Edgar Salita, known for his power, would have invented hand protection.
It's Lowell or June Pueblos.
June Pueblo, that's it. Jack.
There you
June
go.
Pueblo, it's in Scotland.
From what's his name? Steve Del Castillo.
Oh, Banal.
Yeah, Banal blades, and this is like a lot of fun. These hurt. You're talking about the AccuStrike. It gives both audio and visual cues when you use it.
Love that.
Chris Caban.
Yeah, I like his stuff. I just got something in for him. Yeah.
Old school Philippine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That's funny.
I want to address both those questions that you just asked right now because I cut off because of the internet.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll jump back. Go ahead, Julius.
Yeah, I don't have good internet here. So the main thing is I think my view.
Say the question again, Julius, so people know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So concerning who are the next premier non-parial practitioners, and is that even important? Just going forward. I think my views would be summed up by a book that I read recently called Hidden in Plain Sight, the esoteric power of Mauricio Yoshiba. In that book, he goes over 18 line items on why it's so hard to produce non-parial practitioners like that now. Not only just because of they actually use it in the battlefield, but even the development of their skeletal muscular system, because they were doing hard labor back in the day. I mean, you don't understand how strong some humans are. They really are like chimps.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry to say, because I've seen a GM in the Philippines that was a farmer. He can unhusk a coconut with his hands. Some of them can unhusk a coconut with their mouths, because they had hard food. They're chewing metal nut. You know what I mean? So
a book I'll throw out there is The Mighty Atom. He was like one of the old school strongmen who could actually take a bar of steel and twist it.
Ye old strongman type.
Check out The Mighty Atom that talks about the old school strength of the old men.
Yeah, they're normal if you're a farmer or a fisherman. That's just the normal thing, right? It's not out of the ordinary. Like Bajau people are negatively buoyant, but they can stay underwater for more than 7 minutes, no problem. They're not even.
They actually have a different size spleen to process oxygen differently.
Yeah,
specific to their tribe.
They don't even do the apnea breathing, which is they inhale 100% oxygen first. They're just born like that, right? So it's hard for that to come back, just because like from the time of the cradle to the grave, we're not doing the same kind of workload that we're doing. Another book that I recommend. Another book that I recommend is called Manthropology. It was written by a social scientist in Australia. Came out back in 2009. So that kind of summarizes my point. It's going to be too long if I have a line item of those points. But if people can read those two books, they're really wonderful. And then as concerning, like, do we need them in this community? I think we do. Here's the thing. There's never really been a point in culture where like warfare or strife is not, minus if you take like ancient Kemet or like the Nordic Chico civilization that lasted like thousands of years. There were like long periods where they kept on battling their neighbors, right? But there's always like in Nordic Chico, in South America, they don't even have much evidence of them going to war all the time. But in this particular context, like you read like works like with Steven Pinker, that society's becoming more peaceful if you look at it in the aggregate. It has, like, fatality rates going down, even combat line, combat armed soldiers, in the front line, their rates of fatality isn't going down, over the decades, from World War II onwards, right? And even prior to before. I do still think we need it. We need those type of guys, because if we lose them, what's going to end up happening is FMA is in a very precarious situation, because we're transitioning from Bugei to Hapan or Jutsu to Do. And that's going to weaken our art. I'm sorry. That's just the reality.
It's already weakened, though. It's already occurring.
And it will continue doing
Julius,
that if we lose those guys.
Just a moment, so that people who don't know those terms, it's like in Japanese martial arts, they went from Jitsu, which were combat systems that were still, there were people who were still samurai who had fought during the Meiji Restoration, and then, then going into Imperial Japan, but then it became Do, which is a martial art, and it's systematized, and do get watered down. And then you do have groups that are like, say it out there, Dog Brothers, they've created a venue for people to fight.
Yeah.
But it's understood that, some of them, they are still teaching tactical, and they're still teaching it in a real life context and for people who actually use it. But then there's people who are just focusing you're getting very high technical skill in fighting for that format. Just like in the Philippines, you got people who are highly technical, highly skilled, but it's specifically for weak half or specifically for point fighting. So I think, I don't want to jump in because that's a whole hour plus conversation about sparring methodologies, but that's a key important thing. And Tom talked about safety equipment. People have to spar. Yeah, people have to spar, and
you have to put yourself under stress in various ways. And the good thing with protective equipment now is you can basically do it in a higher scale.
And then I think concerning what you said, the improvements, the final question was the improvements in technology, where you see the benefit FMA. I think throughout all full spectrum. So one thing that they don't talk about, besides just the protective equipment revolution of the last 20 years, is sports science, right, has improved. And also something that people don't talk about is the virtual world. You're going to see more and more interface of that, doing like 3D games. You see it now with that samurai game that they have, where you put VR glasses. That shortens reaction time. So I see those as nothing but really benefit our training modality. And even, I'm sorry to say, even PEDs. You have PEDs now. It's not only making you stronger, like, TRT or HGH, but like these next generation stuff, it's like lower your reaction time, make your frames quicker, and even analyzing frames when you're sparring. Like, I do that. Like, when I spar with someone, is like, if I maybe they got the better of me in like a couple of strikes, I study frame data. Like, I would shoot our sparring video, and I bet you they're not going to do as well next time, because like I study their frames, like, how quick their reaction time is, how like quick.
So you're talking about frames. You're talking about frames per second, Julius, just to make sure the audience understands what you're talking about.
Like frames, like in fighting game, yeah. So it's just like, so.
No, We lost them
Good.
again.
Example, you're fighting, right? You're like this, and like if you're like this, and like each frame is like click, 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 click.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for frames per
click, click,
second
click,
you're
click,
watching
come
it.
back. Right. So like learning that and like how it taxes your CNS, your central nervous system. So like man, I'm kind of giving my secrets away. Shit.
It's cool, but you know, it's gonna benefit the overall community. But it's like using video tools that allow people to watch their fights in slow motion and getting into the minutia of frames per second. You're gonna be like, oh shit, they actually hit me there, and I didn't even notice it. But you can see it when you break it down that way.
Recognizing like the weaknesses of the CNS of your opponent, because over time you overload that CNS, right?
Central nervous system.
Yeah,
you
central
overload
nervous
it,
system.
and
Yeah.
then they're not as quick the next round, right? Because basically like they're like, oh man, like they're second guessing because you do a hata, you do a feint, or you do an engaño. It's like these little things is really helpful for our community. That whoa, they didn't unless you have a photographic memory, you know. So those are the things. I think virtual learning, obviously Zoom, but even like the virtual, meaning like VR glasses, is really going to help with like reaction time in the future. And then I'm sorry to say that the drugs, I mean the performance enhancing.
Actually, Royce just brought that up. Here's another thing about technology, like, and I do this because I'm like 56 and have injuries. Like I take for recovery, amino acids, and it helps me recover like after hard and all that. That's definitely a technological
advancement. Yes, yeah. Supplements and everything. I
spend decent money on that stuff, and I definitely notice a difference as far as post workout recovery as opposed to when I didn't take it.
I use protein drinks to do the same thing,
which I do.
Yeah.
It's really my recovery secret, or one of them.
Hey, we're coming up on Elrik.
So last question, and then we're done.
Because Tom is going to turn.
It's gone into the world of virtual. So we've all been participated in a number of virtual classes, and this is from Zimbo. What are the commonalities in virtual learning programs, or also methodologies of teaching? And then like, what are people doing that's good? Because it is moving into this realm. And then, Julius has talked about, we're evolving into augmented reality learning, and then also VR reality learning.
Okay.
We just did an episode on that.
Yeah, actually.
I had Guru Tom, I had Tuan Jack.
Yeah.
And Tuan Brandon Jordan.
Yeah.
And basically, it was on Zoom classes.
About Zoom classes, yes.
Like how effective they are, like what are the positives from it, what are the negatives, and basically, it was a discussion on, and the majority of it was absolutely how positive they can be, pending your ability to want, what you want to take from it, how open-minded you are, obviously the instructor conveying the system or whatever it is teaching. But they're absolutely and the reason, I've attended a few. One, I do online, with a few instructors in lieu of what's going on. Two, I've joined other different system formats and what have you. And I think a good, obviously, is your background. Like the more extensive your background is in more years, you're able to obviously to decipher, pick up.
Yes, exactly.
If you're a newbie,
it's going to be hard.
You have the same experience. You might have to put the more reps in, or maybe get supplemental individual training on that particular what was taught. But absolutely, they're beneficial and they're not going away.
Yeah, because of Zoom, you manage to actually connect more people. And you'll be
cross training.
Exactly, cross training, and you got an international audience. You basically have everybody in your class. So That's one of the benefits of the Zoom lesson. And just imagine now, you'll be able to see like your classmates from different parts around the world.
You go on there, like I go on there, I see like Vaughn, you and all that. It's neat. But yeah, I think they're absolutely beneficial. It brings people together. It also makes you, in other words, if you look at pre-COVID, like there's no way you would have people trying different systems. Why? There was no reason to. But because of the shutdown, it's like, oh, you know what? Well, I got this time on my hands. Maybe, I never thought about checking that out. Maybe. So you have people doing different things out there. And normal circumstances, I don't know if they would necessarily. I think that cross.
Yeah, it's changed things, definitely.
It has changed things, definitely.
But I think it's going to also be the new norm. Like these lessons are not going to get thrown away.
No. Yeah, this is going to stay.
Going away.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Because
making money.
So can you guys say what episode that was? Where you guys, because Zimbo asked several questions about this topic, and it sounds like it was addressed in depth in that episode.
Yeah.
So it's been 2 hours and 1 minute. So Julius and Tom, while Dean's looking that up, last words. Anything you want to say about FMA Digest?
Discussion.
FMA Discussion.
Sorry, FMA Discussion. So who's the guy who did FMA Digest? I'm sorry, dude.
Steve Dowd.
Who we had on?
And that was a great contribution for early 2000s, late 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Episode
maybe earlier, I don't remember, but
episode 192.
So 192, Zimbo. That's the episode you need to watch to talk about technology.
It's basically about.
It was just about Zoom lesson. Yeah.
Online training, Zoom.
Online training, yes.
So
my final thoughts on the matter concerning that is that use
silence,
right? And I had a conversation about this with my MMA friend, and he's like a 10th Planet jiu-jitsu guy, so like under Eddie Bravo. I don't want to give him away, because I didn't talk about, I don't want to release his name out to the general public, but he said like, man, like this pandemic has been really bad for like Muay Thai, MMA, and jiu-jitsu. It's hard to hang out with my thug jitsu friends. He's saying like this, and I was like, I didn't want to piss him off because I was like, really? Because it's been the exact opposite in my culture. My circle was like, the pandemic was hella good for like, for FMA, for like the propagation, because like more people are taking Zoom classes all over the world. Certain grandmasters you'd never meet in your life because maybe you don't have the cheddar to go down in the Philippines. You could like train on any given Saturday, Yeah. So I think what in the end, what we need to take is like, let's not have the technology define us. The most important thing about it is just do it. Because when you put the reps in, I see nothing. Life is nothing but reps. So you take the reps. If you're only like 1% better the next day, man, you're gonna be formidable at the end of the year. I had this conversation with Ray Bradbury when he was alive. He was like, "Hey, Julius, just write 1 or 2 sentences a day." What? It's like, yeah, because if you do that, you're like, you have like a short novella at the end of the year. What? Like, it's true though. You know what I mean? It's kind of true. It's like, write like a 1 to 2 sentences a day, or like a paragraph a day. You have like a novella for the end of the year. You get published. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of true, huh? And then he has another saying. He's like, you can't write 50 stories and have them all be bad. Like, if you write like 50 to 100 stories consecutively, at least one of them's gonna be good. So I'm like, that's true, huh? Anything in life is like that. FMA is the same. So let's not have like, when you go to triathlon, they're like, oh man, I have like a Diamondback type of, or a giant bike, and it's just like all of a sudden you got like a tire blowout and your frames got destroyed. You have another bike in your truck. You don't go and say like, oh man, I'm not gonna race until this bike is fixed. No, you're gonna take that bike and keep on going with the triathlon so you can finish. That's the kind of attitude we need to have. Let's not have the technology define us. Let's just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
As Nike said it.
Tom, last words.
Okay, well, I mean,
thanks, Julius.
Yeah, I mean, for the duration of time that I've been with FMA Discussion, I've thanks to Dean, I've actually met quite a lot of fantastic instructors as well. And with my interview with the guests that I interviewed, I've also learned quite a lot from them. So, of course, FMA, we will try to bring you a wide variety of topics, themes, and guests with FMA discussion. I mean, for everybody to enjoy. So we would like to thank everybody who have been supporting FMA discussion, both the channel and the FB, and for those who have been supporting the interviews that we have been doing. So we do hope that you're enjoying them and you are learning something from them as well. So that's it. FMA.
Thanks, Tom.
All right.
Dean?
See you guys.
Yeah, I just want to, first of all and foremost, those who weren't here in the beginning, I just really want to thank you for doing this. I know you rearranged your schedule, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate these guys here that are on here with me that have helped out with the channel. Brian Rodriguez too. I appreciate our subscribers. I appreciate the people who are watching now and supporting us. I really do. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't say it or whatever, but I really deeply appreciate people that watch the episodes and comment, take the time to say something, to say a kind word and all that, when they could be doing other things, and all that. And we hope to bring more. We don't want to be flatlined or that. We want to be still creative. We want to be innovative. We want to bring new, exciting things. We don't want to just stick around just for the point of sticking around. Like the worst I can tell you right now, when I'll hang up the towel, is when it is getting stagnant, boring. I'm not feeling innovative. There's not excitement. There's not an engine. I'm not thinking of something new. The aspect of creativity has gone down. When those things occur, I know it's gonna be time to hang it up. And right now, I'm not feeling that. And I'm hoping the following year it gets better. We grow, we get more innovative, more creative, and we bring more things to the table.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
hey, can I give a shout out so that we can have to? Hey, Stephen Barnes, y'all have to hire us in your new Hollywood production so we make it more innovative around here.
Yeah,
fight choreography, son.
But all right, guys. Tom, thank you for. I know it's got to be like 2 a.m. there or something.
2:38.
All right, we gotta let you go, man. We gotta let you go. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elrik. Thank you very much, guys.
Well, you guys. Thank you for letting me host you guys. Have a great day or good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll see you Tuesday, Elrik.
Okay.
See you.
Bye-bye, guys.
All right, that wraps up. Wow, that was very nice of Elrik to do, and Tom Payne to stay up this late, and Julius to join us. So that was part 1. So Elrik thought it'd be a good idea just to focus on FMA discussion. As it is, we went 2 hours. So good. That was a good suggestion as part to not lump everything together. So Tuesday night, Elrik will be interviewing me. I guess I'm not sure what he's going to ask me. So if you want to tune in and jump in that, Elrik usually has really great questions. So I think it'll be enjoyable. And so that's going to be Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So again, that'll be episode 200, part 2, Tuesday night. Those who stuck around to watch, I appreciate it. Thank you. If you have not already have subscribed to FMA Discussion, please do so. You will be helping us help people. All that we make goes to charity. Okay. All right. Thanks all and good night.